Hello and welcome back once again to J.P.'s World of Wrestling. I am your man J.P. So today we continue on with the Galoobs. And today I bring you another one that's also one of my favorite Galoobs. In fact, he's a champion of sorts. He's the champion of the channel. He's Sid Vicious. Yes, that's right, Sid Vicious. I absolutely love this figure for a number of reasons. Number one is the pose is strong. Number two, it's realistically sized. Look how much taller he is than this Brian Pillman. That's one thing I loved about the Galoobs is they were realistically sized. They didn't always have the best poses, but that's with any wrestling figure maker. But yeah, strong pose. I remember watching Sid Vicious in WCW. I remember him as one half of the Skyscrapers. First, it was I think it was Dan Spivey was the other Skyscraper, and then it was Mean Mark Callis, aka The Undertaker. But then the tag team broke up, and Sid Vicious eventually became a member of the Four Horsemen. But yeah, he had so many great matches in WCW. Eventually made his way though to the WWF in the early '90s, and he had a big feud with Hulk Hogan. And I remember the feud because they were in a tag team match. Hulk Hogan and Sid Vicious were in there against, I think, Ric Flair and The Undertaker, I think. So Hulk Hogan was in there, kind of stealing the spotlight. He was kind of trying to take on both Flair and The Undertaker. And Sid Vicious was just standing in the corner like, hey, man, what are you doing? What about me? I'm your partner. Why don't you tag me? Why don't you let me have some of the spotlight? So then when Hogan finally went to tag him, Sid Vicious just jumped off the ring apron and left Hogan in there to contend with Ric Flair and The Undertaker. So then the Royal Rumble takes place. The Royal Rumble 92, which is considered one of the greatest Rumbles of all time, and it was very, very good. So then that Rumble was for the WWF title. Like whoever won the Royal Rumble match became the WWF champion. So it came down to three guys: Ric Flair, Sid Vicious, and Hulk Hogan. So Hulk Hogan's got Flair on the ropes. He's trying to eliminate him. Sid Vicious comes from behind, eliminates Hogan, which should have been legit. I mean, it's every man for himself, right? But no, and this is one time where I gotta call out the Hulkster, because the Hulkster kind of threw a fit, like, "Hey man, how could you eliminate me?" And then you could see Sid Vicious mouthing the words, "It's every man for himself." That's correct. Sid Vicious was right in this particular situation. So Hulk Hogan reaches up, grabs Sid's arm, and starts trying to pull him over the top rope. Sid's trying to fight it off. Ric Flair comes from behind, eliminates Sid. Ric Flair wins the match and wins the title. And then Sid gets furious, thus setting up their WrestleMania 8 match. And so, I mean, that was a good setup for a WrestleMania match, but again, it's still controversial whether it should have been Flair and Hogan. But I mean, it is what it is. It's whatever. That was years ago. But the match at WrestleMania 8 was still pretty good. It was Sid Vicious, Hulk Hogan. They really put Sid off as really this really strong competitor, really strong opponent for Hogan, because Hogan couldn't pin him in that match. After Hogan did the leg drop, he went for a pin, but Sid kicked out. But immediately after that, Papa Shango runs down, and him and Sid start double teaming Hogan, and that's when the Ultimate Warrior returned in that match. After the bell rang, the Ultimate Warrior came down, saved Hogan, and Ultimate Warrior had another. But anyway, this is about Sid. So Sid went away from the WWF for a while. He went back to WCW, and then he came back to the WWF in the mid '90s, and he was brought back by Shawn Michaels, and he was Shawn Michaels' bodyguard, but then eventually he left Shawn Michaels, became his own wrestler. He became the WWF champion. He beat Shawn Michaels for the WWF title at Survivor Series, and Shawn Michaels won the title back at the Royal Rumble, but then Shawn Michaels lost his smile, had to give the title back because I guess he was hurt or something. I could think he was attacked by a bunch of guys outside of a bar or something. And he had to give up the title. Sid Vicious won the title back, but then Sid Vicious lost the title to The Undertaker at WrestleMania. And so then Sid went back to WCW in the late 90s, and he had some pretty good matches. One notable match, though, he had was against Goldberg, and it was pretty good. He was a convincing opponent for Goldberg, but Goldberg ended up winning that match. But then him and Goldberg ended up tagging up as a tag team. They were a really good tag team. I liked the tag team a lot. But then, as WCW went on, things kind of went off the rails for WCW, and they started showing signs that they weren't doing so well. And they eventually put Sid in a match with Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, in which Sid suffered probably the worst injury I've ever seen in wrestling, where he went off the second rope, but when he landed when on that ankle snapped. And there's a video out there where you can clearly see the ankle kind of dangling off to the side. It was a really bad break. I mean, I can't imagine, it was like a quick heal. I mean, it probably took a long time for Sid to heal up from it. He eventually did heal from that, but man, that was a bad break. But nevertheless, this figure is an awesome figure. Like I said, he is the champion of the channel. And like I said on the last video, eventually I do want to bring those matches back, but I gotta take care of my personal well-being first. I'm not gonna do it if it's gonna kill my back. But because I'm not a young man anymore, I'm not exactly skinny, so nevertheless, I like Sid Vicious. I love this figure, and this is one of my favorite all-time WCW Galoob figures. And that's going to do it for this video. So now, if you're new here, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please share the video, and I will see you next time.